Hello YouTube world, Pretend Farmer here. Not a real farmer, just pretending. In this video we're going to talk about the bare bone basics of keeping chickens. Everything from purchasing chickens, to what kind of coop you need, to what kind of food and stuff your chickens need. This is basically chickens for dummies. Let's get into it. So you've decided to buy chickens. You've got two options. You can either get on Craigslist or Facebook, someplace like that, and you can buy mature chickens that are already laying, or you can buy your own chicks from Tractor Supply or from a hatchery, and you can raise them up from scratch. This is the method I'd recommend here on the Pretend Farm. Hey there, you little chubby thing. Now, if you're gonna go out and buy your own chicks, it's very important when you get to the store or you go on the website that you order pullets if you want laying hens. Very important. Do not get anything that's cockerels, because those are going to end up being roosters. And don't get anything that says straight run, because straight run is simply a mixture of chicks that may or may not be male or female. You buy a batch of straight run chicks, you're going to get some hens, some roosters. Now, contrary to popular belief, you do not need a rooster to get eggs from your chickens. Your hens will lay eggs with no rooster at all. It's just what chickens do. So assuming you don't actually want a rooster, you can go to the store and buy yourself pullets, and you'll get all female hens that look about like this. Now, if you're going to buy chicks, you'll need to have a brooder. Here on the Pretend Farm, we now have an outdoor brooder that's made out of landscaping timbers. This thing sits in the corner of the chicken run, and all brooders need the same essential things. You're going to need a heat lamp or a big light that throws out a lot of heat. You're going to need food, water, and you're going to need some bedding, which usually pine shavings is what I'd recommend. You can use newspaper. I like pine shavings. So anyway, these brooders need to be kept about 100 degrees for the first week, and each week after that you can go ahead and knock the temperature down about 5 degrees. After about 4 to 6 weeks, they will have feathers, and you can start letting them go outside, provided the temperatures are warm enough, 60s or 70s. Obviously, the time of year you get your chicks is going to depend on how long they need to stay in this brooder. Right now it is February, so they're going to have to stay in here for at least 6 weeks. If you buy your chicks in July and it's 90 degrees outside, you probably only need to keep them in here for about 2 weeks. You just got to use your own judgment based on your own weather. It's important that you keep their shavings clean while they're in the brooder. I kind of freshen mine up and add clean ones about once a week. You need to keep close tabs on their feed and their water. And you need to keep a good eye on their butts to make sure they don't get something called pasty butt, which is basically where their poop gets caked over and they can't use the bathroom anymore. That can be fatal for chicks. Now, whether you buy chickens that are already grown or whether you raise your own from scratch, it's important to understand that a chicken will not start laying eggs until they're about 6 months old. So that means if you buy them from the store, expect about half a year before you start getting any eggs. And if you get chickens that are only about 6 to 8 weeks old from somebody that's raised them themselves, that's nice and all because they're ready to go in the coop with no heat lamp. But you're still going to have months before those chickens start to lay. Now, once you're done brooding your chicks, they're going to need to go in their permanent home, which is going to be their coop. As a rule of thumb, a chicken needs about 3 to 5 square feet of space in the coop and probably about 10 square feet of space out in the run area. So just to put that into plain English for you, if you get 8 hens, they're going to need about a 4x8 coop and probably about a 5x7 run. 6x10 would be even better. Notice I've got wire fencing on the top sides all around their run. They're going to need a run that's protected to keep things from getting in that want to eat them, whether it be aerial predators like hawks or whether it be stuff like raccoons, foxes, so on and so forth. The essential components to a chicken coop are nest boxes, roost bars, and ventilation, which I have partially restricted now because it's so cold and drafty. The rule of thumb on nest boxes is about 4 hens per nest box. Really, all a nest box is just a box that's big enough for the chicken to squeeze in and lay some eggs. There's nothing scientific about it. Now my nest box has a lid that opens from the outside, so I don't have to go in the coop to get the eggs. My black sex link is working on an egg, and my Rhode Island Red is getting ready to start working on one. Chickens don't sleep on the ground. They prefer to roost on these roost bars here. And notice these are just 2x4s. Now a lot of people think, oh, well, I'll put a broomstick or something in my coop for them to roost on. Chickens don't really like that because they have to curl their toes around it. And they would rather perch with their feet flat on something because it helps them to squat down and keep their toes warm. It can actually help keep them from getting frostbite on their feet if it's really cold. So for your roost bars, you are better off to go with something like a 2x4 that's several inches wide, where they can perch with their feet flat on there. I'm not saying they won't use a broomstick or something skinnier. I'm just saying for comfort, this is what they seem to prefer. It's very important to have good ventilation in your coop, because if you seal this thing up tight, it can cause the chickens to have some respiratory issues. Another reason you don't want your coop sealed up super tight is because it can actually contribute to frostbite if it's super cold out. That's because their breath will condensate and get on their combs and wattles, and then that moisture will freeze. So ventilation is important. Now about once a week I come in here and I scoop out all their poop from these shavings and put fresh bedding down for them. That's something you're going to have to do regular if you're keeping chickens. And the more chickens you have, the more they poop, the more often you got to clean. Your chickens will need a place to take a dust bath in. It's real important for chickens to take a dust bath because they'll get mites and stuff on them, and that's how they get them off and basically take care of themselves. Another thing you'll have to do almost daily is check your chickens' feed and water. Chickens eat about 1.5 pounds per chicken per week. If you have a flock of 8 chickens, they're going to eat about 12 pounds of food a week. That means you can plan on buying a bag of feed each month. You'll have to fill up their feeder every couple days. Their water, you'll probably have to fill every day. So generally with your chickens, you're going to have 2 types of feed available. You're going to have pellets and you're going to have crumble. It's important to buy them layer feed if they're hens. Now with your chicks, it's very important to give them starter crumble until they're about old enough to lay. And the reason why is because it's got a lot of protein and stuff in it that helps them with their growing. And the calcium that's in the layer feed can actually be a bit much for them and damage their kidneys. So you want to keep them on the starter feed really as long as you can. Now these pellets that I feed my bigger chickens are layer pellets, and they generally tend to run a little cheaper than the crumble. Really, as far as whether you should feed your chickens crumble or pellet, it all comes down to personal preference. Maybe what the chickens like the best. It doesn't really matter too much. As far as treats go, chickens really like mealworms, but mealworms tend to be expensive. If you want some cheaper ideas for treats to get to your chickens, try things like blueberries, grapes, strawberries, bananas. They love apples, pumpkins. Miss Molly here can destroy a bag of Doritos. So, you know, you don't have to buy these expensive chicken snacks all the time. Just give them pretty much anything with cheese in it and they'll go nuts. Oh yeah. Chickens really do make good pets. I don't care what some people say, they do like to cuddle. You just gotta work with them a little bit. I promise to keep this video brief for those of you with a short attention span that just wanted to cut through all the baloney and know what you need to do. If you have any questions and you want me to make a specific video on something more specific, let me know. Otherwise, I'd encourage you to check out my other videos. I got a lot of more detailed videos about how to build your own coop, about different types of chicken feed, about cleaning your coop, what you need to do, taking care of your chickens. We've got all sorts of stuff to offer here on the Pretend Farm. I'd encourage you to check it out, and I'd encourage you to get chickens, not because they give you tasty eggs, but because they're good pets. This is the Pretend Farmer, signing out.